Okay, so just because I'm an independent candidate does not mean that I'm neutral on everything, or that I don't stand for anything, or that I don't have a plan. So before any issues can be addressed, we have to address the way our political system works at all. First of all, both parties right now have an obscene amount of money flowing through them. Not just from Dominion and Appalachian Power, although they tend to be the most obvious example of how money affects politics. I believe heavily in campaign finance reform. I believe very strongly in campaign finance reform. And when I say reform, I believe that we need to end campaign treasury for the House of Delegates entirely. Not just put a cap on who can donate what, but stop donating. Being a candidate has taught me quite a lot. I hear a lot of people judging candidates and their viability by how much money they're able to raise. And when they're talking about politics and the process, how much money someone is able to raise is always brought into question. I don't think that's a good way to choose a leader. In fact, I think that's probably the worst possible way to choose a leader. And it makes absolutely zero sense. So what is it that politicians spend all that money on anyway when they're running a campaign? What are campaign costs? First of all, the delegate race is not a super popular one. When I went to go open my bank account for my campaign treasury, the woman who worked at the bank looked right at me and said, "What's a delegate?" So that tells me that the previous delegate races in this area have not necessarily reached the mass communications expenditures that one would expect when you raise $250,000. And yes, my opponent raised regularly over $100,000 and most recently $250,000 for mostly campaigns that were unopposed. So what on earth are you spending $150,000 plus on? Well, that's a discussion for another time with him specifically. But generally, what is spent is mailers. And I don't know about y'all, but if you're watching this video online, you're probably not the person who primarily communicates through the postal system anymore. Just saying. And that's pretty much it. So mailers. Commercials. You don't really see a whole lot of TV commercials for the House of Delegates. Obviously, for bigger races like governors, you'll see TV commercials for that, and that's really expensive. So we got to buy yard signs. We got to make sure that everybody sees our names. I say us, meaning all the candidates. So that's an expense. That, to cover our entire district, I would say is probably about $500. And I also go a step further and say, if a yard sign is the only communication that you get, then there's a problem there. So I've got a website that cost less than $100 for a year's worth of web hosting and all the bells and whistles that go on. There's really no need to raise over $100,000. Plus, all of the advertising done, the mass communications, and I have some experience in mass communications, it's one-way communication. So what I would like to see, and I absolutely intend to propose a bill as such, is stop campaign treasury for the House of Delegates, and instead have the Department of Elections publish a booklet, just like we have booklets at the General Assembly now that list several different types of information. Publish a booklet, give each candidate 1,000 words or less to make their pitch, and in 1,000 words or less, give us the best reason of why we should vote for you. Beyond that, because obviously everyone wants to get their edge, if candidates want to take more than 1,000 words, because obviously it requires more than 1,000 words to explain yourself, what they need to do is hold town hall meetings. They need to go meet people. They need to attend community events and listen to people. that allows for two-way communication. So you get your 1,000 words to put in the booklet, you get your, your little platform, and then the rest of it, you have to actually get out of your air-conditioned office and go meet people and allow them to ask you difficult questions that you may or may not be prepared for. It's called campaigning. It's called meeting people and being accessible. And I don't see a lot of that from the establishment politicians, those who have been in the House of Delegates for a very long time. I see laziness.